All right, do we want to start just by, we'll go down the list?
Sure, yeah. Or like any overarching themes this year budget that's different from last year's.
No, the only difference, we do have one position we're eliminating this year. We have a new town accountant who can take on the role of the municipal support admin. So we're going to remove that from our department and she's gonna take on the bulk of those duties.
Those reporting, like building reports, kind of a thing.
It includes reporting, support for other departments and user support. Anything that our munis admin did besides the server maintenance. Other than that, everything is just well, with software services, we did have a few things added into our budget that were from different departments. So you probably see some reductions in those departments, but it did increase us quite a bit. You see the 29% uptick there. Other than those two, nothing really major.
Do you know, are those software additions that came over from, it was a town council budget? Where's that?
Yeah, some were town council, some with fire. We can check on that software maintenance tab. And I put in the notes column there. Some are brand new as well.
Yeah, there are a couple of different bunches of new stuff added to your budget.
Yeah,
So the reduction of one FTE on the IT side, those services being covered by someone on the town council side.
by the town accountant,
Town accountant.
new town accountant. Yeah, she has some munis experience as an implementer and has set it up in different towns that she's worked at.
Any of those software from the town accountant's budget moving over to this?
And some, yeah, so for software, we had Archive Social, Shutterstock, and Adobe. Those were actually in last year, but those were moved over last year. We had Govenda, which is their board management software. That's a new one added in. So they use that for town council coordination.
We like all our meetings.
Yeah.
All the documents and everything.
Yeah, it's a great place to centralize it.
But that used to be covered by the town council, now is coming over.
Yeah, that was a town admin, town council budget last year. The fire department is a big one. That's their record management software. So that got moved in with an implementation happening this year.
Is that scheduling thing or what is it?
Yeah, so it does their scheduling, their time and attendance. It does all the calls that they have to make, tracking those. I believe it does permitting too. And what they had in the past was a mix of an in-house system running on FileMaker Pro and another solution called CrewSense. So you'll see CrewSense come out of their budget. It's a much smaller number, but it's gonna be something anyway.
How do you feel about all these things being moved into your budget?
I think it probably makes sense. It's good to have them centralized, so at least we know about them as well.
Yeah.
Then the other big increase was the website upgrade with the new website is gonna be more ADA compatible. So they subscribe to two different packages that help maintain that. One is adding a widget to the site, and the other one provides a quick view like of your overall site to audit it. And there's also an insurance option. So every 4 years they can upgrade.
Upgrade the website, that widget.
They can upgrade the website, like the look and feel of it. So versus versus just paying for it upfront every 4 years. They do like an insurance plan where you pay a little bit every year. And if you want to upgrade on that 4th year, you can.
And then the upgrade work is actually done by the vendor.
Right.
Interesting.
And then the last new one there was the new time and attendance software. So that's going to be replacing Nova Time, which you would see in the DPW budget.
Over time,
Yeah. So the time clocks that we have with Nova Time, they're no longer supported as of July. So they have a capital project that's way right now.
July 25.
Yep. So this capital project we'll have done before July, but then you're gonna have ongoing support fees through Tyler for the new time and attendance software.
Sort of like when Microsoft has an out-of-date version of Windows that some companies still need because their software only runs on Windows 95 or whatever. And they can pay extra to Microsoft to have it continue to be supported.
No, so I probably explained it wrong. So we're just abandoning Nova Time altogether. And we're getting new time clocks that's gonna work with new software that's integrated into Munis.
Which was Novatime and integrated into Munis.
No, we had to build like a bridge for it. So we do an export and import function.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it'll be a good upgrade.
How long has Novatime been in the town?
Nova Time's been here since I've been here. So at least 11, 12 years. And that is replacing some of the time clocks out at the schools too.
But not all.
I think the only time clocks they use, I'd have to check with HR, but I think it is just the custodial time clocks. Cause I don't think the teachers have to clock in. I think they have a different,
And we're talking physical device.
yeah,
Your
physical
card.
device where they
I
fly their card or scan in.
used to do that when I worked in produce. Evan, how are you doing for questions, bud?
Doing all right. So I'm understanding the bulk of this contractual services increase is mostly you just absorbing Todd, costs that kind of should have been in your budget to begin with. Like, is there any? I guess the only thing I'm wondering is like, are we sure we got all of the IT software related costs in this absorption? Because I get the idea, like, you don't really want like departments running around doing software stuff on an island without it being
Right.
under your umbrella. So I actually really like that you're bringing that stuff in. Is there anything, do you know if there's anything else that's sort of lingering out there that needs to be absorbed? Because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, there are, the police still have most of their software
Okay.
covered under their budget. And they've kind of remained like a separate entity as far as budgeting that. But they always pull us in when they're gonna get something new.
Okay. Okay. Do you manage it for them too? Or are they sort
Yeah.
of?
Yeah,
Okay.
we manage all the software for them.
Good. Good.
and they
That's
do
really
own
whose
contracts.
budget it is in, it doesn't matter as much as like, I hope your hands are on it if, if it's
Yeah, we
IT
don't
related
like
and managed.
surprises with it just showing up.
You have what installed?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Good.
So that's good. Fire, nothing over there.
Fire is just that one addition, the software called First Due. That is line item 32 on the software maintenance.
17 grand.
Yep.
So there's definitely a significant number of new additions to your budget.
Yeah,
And again, in essence, we're shuffling it from one account to a different one. So from an overall perspective, it doesn't really matter, but. Okay,
one thing we'll note too, the firewall subscriptions that we have. they're covered right now until FY 28 through a grant. We got new appliances with the subscriptions. So we'll see that coming back up in FY 28.
Is that the Sonic wall?
Yeah,
There's more than one, right?
yeah.
Are you at all concerned about the rate at which software maintenance is going up?
Every time we have to have these meetings, yeah. No, we're always looking for ways, that we can either take more advantage of what we have, or we're looking at things like, can we do that in-house possibly? We're gonna see what opens up when we finish our 365 migration, as far as what we can build out internally there. If there's anything we can do to get these, higher target numbers here.
Do you know about your licensing from a security perspective? Do you have like E5 or A5 licenses or 3?
So it's gonna be E3 and a mix of, Exchange 1,
Exchange?
just Exchange online, single accounts. So we have a lot of workers that they don't necessarily need access to Office, but they just need email to get their pay stubs and get,
E3 for people who need everything, and then Exchange for
yeah,
those folks who just need.
communications, basically.
So I got a new job starting in September with a managed detection and response company.
Yep.
And that has introduced me to the concept of Microsoft licensing, with which I was previously unacquainted. And so an E3 license. So are you taking advantage of Defender for Endpoint or any of those kinds of capabilities?
That's what we're gonna look into as well. See how well it performs, probably go with that because Sophos will get up there as well.
Right. Right. So we're using Sophos today.
Yeah, we've had good luck with it. We haven't had an issue since we've had it.
For endpoint protection or endpoint detection and response.
Yep.
And how do you manage your alerts out of that software?
So those alerts go to the help desk manager primarily.
And from,
It actually goes to all of us, but he's the one who's responsible first for addressing those.
do you know how many alerts you get?
I'd have to check in with him or go back and check myself, the dashboard.
I mean, we can have, I would love to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Just based on what I have newly learned. But we don't necessarily have to have that now.
Okay, certainly. Good though.
Can you talk a little bit overall just about IT security and your thoughts and concerns?
Sure, we have, you're always concerned about it. I mean, we're applying for another grant for more end user training. So that should be coming up by the summertime. That's really like to me, that's like the biggest concern because that's where the first link is gonna be clicked, that's gonna introduce something. We rely heavily on the backups. We've got multiple levels of backups in case anything ever happened. We do rely heavily again on Sophos too. But I think we've done pretty well so far, and as soon as you say that, that's when something might happen, but yep, so far so good.
I think it's pretty clear that a huge part of the IT security risk is people.
Yeah.
So that training thing is great. We had talked before about the insurance policy, right? How is that? Like, are we good there? We're compliant and everybody's
Yeah.
happy and they'll pay if it need be.
Yeah, insurance, I mean, they use words like reasonable. So as long as you're doing what's reasonable according to the industry. And so as long as we keep everything up to date and we have good measures in place, that should be fine.
Is there any kind of a review that they would do, the insurance company would do to say, before the poop hits the fan, here's what we think you should do to be more compliant, that kind of
They
thing?
haven't done that yet, but we could ask for that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it would certainly reduce risk,
Right.
compliance risk, or should something happen.
Of course, then, once you know, then you have to do something about it.
Yes.
Perfectly fine though, yeah. If anything, I think it would be like a procedural thing because we have everything available to us software wise.
Okay, good. I was once told by a CISO, I don't really want to know about all that information because if you tell it to me, then I have to do something about it and I don't have budget for it.
Yeah.
So the plausible deniability is
Out the window.
valuable.
I recorded this conversation. No.
Yeah, I think it's more so like just make sure our incident response plans are up to date. Make sure DR plans are up to date, documented, and maybe document the testing of those. They probably would want to see something like that in addition to what we have.
They're big on documentation.
Yeah.
But they never would come in and actually ask somebody, so what's your policy on email clicking?
Right.
And see what people say, right?
No, I think you're right. We'd have to reach out because if they went out and proactively asked everyone, we want to make sure you're compliant. They're only going to be paying out more.
But I mean, that's the education piece, right? That's the making sure everybody knows. Here's what we have to do and here's why we do it. And this is what you need to do.
Right.
At different companies where I've worked, they had a button within Outlook where you could say, I think this is a phishing attempt.
Yep.
And it would automatically bundle it and send it to IT security. Do we have anything like that?
We don't right now, but we have, we'll see what's available once we migrate over.
Yeah, I don't know how that was done. I don't have any of the technical detail, but I thought it was a great thing because it makes it easy.
Yeah, you could add add-ons to it. So like, our spam filter, there may be an option you can subscribe to get an add-on for each client.
That would be nice, because then you get folks who will just like forward, I mean, well intending, like, you know, they'll forward the
Yeah.
email. I remember like my IT director used to come running into the office like, don't forward that email, just leave it. You know, it'd be nice.
Send
to
me
have
a text about that email.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't click the link.
Right.
And honestly, I mean, we talked about this, I think. There are so many, I haven't gotten as many recently, but you get texts where they're like, we're the US Postal Service.
Oh, yeah.
You know, your package can't be delivered because your address is incomplete, but I have your mobile number. And, you know,
Yep.
hit this link and you can get your details straight. And if you're not paying attention, I mean, the grammar's bad typically, but
Yeah, but it's getting better.
they are.
They're getting craftier.
It wouldn't be that hard to put together a little bulletin for the town when these things are seen to say, here's an example. You know, we want several people in town hall got this email and it said these things. And as you can see here, it's, you know, bad grammar. And there it's got a link that when you hover over it, don't click on it, hover on it, it clearly doesn't go to the place that it says that it should be going.
Right.
Things like that.
Yep. Teaching them about domain names and
And you wouldn't necessarily need to hire a third-party company to do that, right? That would be pretty easy to do because stuff comes in, I'm sure.
And I'm not sure if this is related to just my workplace too, but we do get newsletters on a regular basis.
Yep.
From I can't think of, like, FBI usually puts out a
Yeah.
newsletter explaining some of these threats or spear phishing attempts and things of that nature, what to do with them.
Yep.
That USPS one, I think the guidance was to inform DHS, FBI, USPS intelligence
Right.
investigations, a whole slew of people. That was a really bad one.
There was a US, and then there was also an IRS one that they sent out, with, you know, same basic idea, you know, your details are wrong. Please hit this link so you can update your details.
Do you think, like requesting, that, and I'm not sure the turnaround time for like, requesting the insurance, company to come in and do an audit or what that entails?
Or even just tell us, here's what we look for.
Right, tell us here are the actual expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can email them.
If that's, do you worry that, if there's, any additional cost that might, come of that? And again, I don't know the turnaround, so we could be talking multiple fiscal years, here. But that the addition or, the movement of all the software or the additional software packages moved over to your budget, even though you're reducing one FTE, the budget's only decreasing by 5%. Like,
Right.
that puts you in a tight spot, like not being able to respond to any any feedback you get from.
I don't think so. You mean budget wise? Yeah, no, I don't think so. Now's a great time actually, because there's so many grants available too.
Really?
Oh, yeah, our migration right now we're working off of is being done by a third party based on a grant. We're moving to a .gov domain, also on a grant. We're just applied for another grant to upgrade our infrastructure for another 200,000. So that hopefully we'll get that one, we should. And then there are a few more cybersecurity grants we can apply for, including like the free training that we just talked about. So those firewall upgrades, those were covered by a grant as well.
So the website, it'll be like wakefieldma.gov or something.
Exactly, wakefieldma.gov, and we're doing wakefieldmapd.gov for the police.
InfraGard is an organization that works pretty closely with the FBI. And they have meetings periodically where they go through stuff like this. You know, it might be worth sending somebody to. They're always at the IT security shows with.
Yeah. I think there's one coming up next week.
When you move to a .gov domain, do you get to save money on anything like SSL certs and?
We didn't look at it from that perspective. Maybe there is, but you can always prove yourself as local government, even without that. It more so just legitimizes the website and the URL for the public. I know in the past, police have asked for .gov because they would get discounts at specific sites, more for like tactical clothing, stuff like that. So it's possible that it opens it up with some other items.
So the year-over-year increase in other software products on that software maintenance page came in at 55.7%. Or $46,000.
Yep.
Difference from the year before. And that is, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, a lot of that is just the stuff that was added into your budget, right?
Yeah, and that's actually, diluted a little bit because of well, now the firewalls were out last year as well. So year over year, no, that's correct.
Because that certainly jumped out at me.
Yeah.
All right. At one point we talked, Todd, about how you were given a bigger bump in pay because you were taking on more of a role for certain.
Yep. I think the last time it was gas and light.
So how is that going? Where are we in that process?
But it's good. Yeah, we're working pretty tightly with them, almost daily. We have a tabletop exercise for the cybersecurity incident scheduled for next month. Some calls on that this week. But it's been a good partnership with them.
Interesting. Any chance one of us could go to that?
I can ask. Yeah.
I think we should send Evan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me
we have
mute him and we'll take a vote.
There you go.
And you said that that tabletop exercise that was at the DPW?
No, it's with gas and light.
Oh, gas and light.
Yep.
<clears throat>
So I noticed that Mark O'Malley got a little bit of a smaller raise than everybody else.
Yeah, Mark he's union. So he's subject to their contract. And I think what happens is they, might inject something afterwards if the union renegotiates.
Okay.
If they do that, it's always added back into the budget.
So are you at all concerned about raises and such? I mean, I know that we get, because of the chargebacks, it makes it much more manageable, right?
Yeah. It's not as big of an ask.
Exactly. And actual wages went down this year because of that position.
Yep.
But you don't have any concerns going forward about that getting out of control?
No, and with the chargebacks, I mean, I've said this in other meetings, if we ever do lose some of those chargebacks, then we'll reduce our salaries too for the portions that we've been increased.
Yeah. I noticed, I mean, it's not a lot, but I noticed that the computer maintenance budget hasn't really changed much. And I also noticed that the budget was at 74 expended for 2025 halfway. Are we gonna need more money there?
Take a look at that one.
Let's see. Right, so that's on the first page, computer maintenance.
Yeah, that one, I mean, I don't think we will need more with that.
Okay,
Sometimes we come in a little under. If it does go over, if we can't get away with, replacing things with grants, then we can always ask for a transfer and then increase it the following year.
sure. I also noticed that software maintenance is at 88% halfway through.
Yeah, software maintenance that's billed on the contract. So you might have renewals in the front, yeah,
That's not a concern.
right.
Because of how we're doing budgeting, like it starts July 1st, right?
Yep.
Most of your renewals are gonna be like towards the late summer.
Yeah, we have some that are right on July 1st, and we have,
Okay.
They're not,
makes for a fun week.
okay, so that's,
But some of them, like when we look at contracted services and subscriptions, that Microsoft agreement is gonna be live probably by April. So then we'll see that one is gonna be an April payment, which will be on the latter end.
Okay.
and how is that, like, are we good with moving more to the Microsoft thing? Like that's working well, everybody's happy with it?
We haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay, we're
Yep.
going to.
Yep. So we're doing that. We'll be done by April.
So that'll be something to sort of check in on.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty straightforward though. I mean, we're gonna start with just use the basic apps at first. And then we'll look into what we can develop through the other apps that are included with it.
Are you starting with Microsoft Access? Do you know? Database?
Nobody really uses that here now. So we
Oh.
probably won't add that in.
And this is the Microsoft 365 ecosystem.
Yeah.
I also noticed that materials and supplies and sundry charges are both at like around 10%, 7.3 and 13.5 spent for the year. Are those budgets, I mean, there's not huge amounts. Obviously, the biggest part of your budget is in contractual services and personal services, but is there like, we have too much in those budgets or those are backloaded charges for the year?
No, some of those we haven't gotten around to using them.
Mhm.
And some are there just as like office supplies. It's $1,000. It's just there for placeholders. So if we need more paper, which we just haven't needed anything yet,
That you can do that.
yeah.
Yeah, but you're looking specifically like in 2024, there was an appropriation for 78K. But the actual spend in that area for that fiscal year was only 9K. And it seems like it's a multi-year,
Oh, okay, so with that one, that was, we had budgeted for 365, but we didn't move to it yet.
Okay, so we budgeted for it, we didn't get to it. So we didn't spend it, but
Right.
we're going to spend it this year.
Yeah, because we'll have it completed by April. So then we'll have to do the annual agree licenses at that point. Just got a text for Ozempic.
There you go.
Right.
we've talked about the transfers, towards the bottom of the budget.
Yep.
I noticed year over year, there's a slight change in the, proportion of the transfers.
Yep.
Between, school and enterprise. Is there any like material differences in support that you're providing? Or like,
So this year it's just changed, just a 4% increase on both.
okay,
In the past, we've had different, the two different chargebacks fluctuate, like jump up, like gas and light contracted additional services. I think it was last year. So that boosted the enterprise fund.
So they do move around some, but
Well, so far to date, they've only added on more services. But if they're ever gonna reduce some, then yeah, we would see that on there as well.
and how did you negotiate the values?
We take a look at a lot of times we looked at what services they were getting already from third parties. And
See if you could,
we hear like, oh, well, they end up calling us in to help because that third party isn't responsive. So then we get involved and we help them out and they're like, great, this was so much easier. So we said, well, we can do this full time. You know, be the on-call person instead of you paying a third party. And we do it at a reduced rate from what they were currently paying.
so they're ecstatic.
Yeah, it's worked out well.
I think we've talked about this in the past. The, Microsoft Windows 11, end of life, that's coming up. Is that,
It's October.
it's October?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't been tracking it too closely. I wasn't sure if that was still, October was still the date.
I don't know, but we're still going forward with upgrading.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you have a lot of hardware? I know you mentioned something about a hardware grant that you had applied for. I don't know if that was
Yeah.
related to,
that one isn't. That's gonna be for the virtualization infrastructure.
okay,
But what we're doing with the Windows 11 upgrade is we're really just taking a look at existing PCs. Nobody's doing supercomputing at their desks here. Biggest boost we can see is you give them an SSD and install Windows 11 and everything's fine, maybe a memory upgrade. So we're going with that for now.
but no need to like kind of rip and replace like full computers, just,
We haven't had to yet.
We're basically gonna wait and see if anybody squawks when they get Windows 11 and say, my computer is really slow.
Well, no, we're making sure that we upgrade it with like a new hard drive at the same time.
Okay. So we're actually.
Yeah, so you want it to be a good experience when they get it.
Sure.
I have noticed that moving from 10 to 11, it has run slower. Anecdotal. I've
No,
got a lot of anecdotes in that area.
There's no doubt. I mean, they just add more stuff every time. They've got a Mack truck built on that VW chassis and they just keep adding and,
Right.
you know, it's gonna slow down every release.
They're always gonna want more memory. And they're always gonna want higher disk speeds.
And thank goodness, memory isn't really all that expensive these days. Now, are we still running hard drives or do we have SSDs?
We have mostly hard drives out there, but as we're upgrading, we're switching them to SSDs. And that's where they see the biggest improvement.
I can remember having to execute the command to park the read-write head
Oh,
when shutting down the computer.
Really?
Yes,
yeah, I wouldn't admit that too much.
in like a really old DOS version.
Really? I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you forgot to, it was like when you left the needle on your
Did
30,
you have to change the platters too in the
Exactly. going to the big room and find the right cabinet. Exactly.
Oh, you said you had multiple levels of backup. I was just wondering, do you have tape backup? Is that one of
We have tape as well, yeah. Yep.
that's, I assume, like tertiary backup or
Oh, yeah, that would be the last resort. That's our air gap.
I had a question. I noticed that subscriptions seem to have leveled off the last 2 years after moving to large Office 365 in 24. Right, that was when that got added, even though it hasn't been spent.
Right.
Did we add Zoom, Office 365 and GoDaddy in 23, or are the numbers on that page just incomplete? Like when you look at Zoom, GoDaddy, I gotta get in there. Oh, that was on a different one. That's on the subscriptions.
Yep, it's on subscriptions.
And I was just looking through and noticed that in 22, we didn't have Zoom or Microsoft Office 365 or GoDaddy. Was that just because we didn't put the numbers in, or is that we actually bought them in 23?
We didn't have the numbers in there for GoDaddy, but Zoom was right around that time. Well, Zoom was actually covered beforehand through town admin.
So maybe that was a switch over.
That was through, yeah, starting in COVID. And then we moved it over into this department. That's when we started building out these conference rooms.
Right. That was just a curiosity. Then I noticed there, on the travel tab, this is, obviously small numbers, but I noticed that tolls and parking jumped up to $100 in 2025. And it sounds stupid to say, it's $100.
Right.
It was just curious to me. I wondered what changed.
So what changed then was we used to have all the vehicle maintenance under travel. And it seemed more appropriate to have a motor vehicle account instead that would track. Here's what you need for tires, here's your fuel charges, things specific to the motor vehicles. I guess that's how all the other departments do it. They recommended leaving maybe $100 back in travel, which was good. So like I had parking at the MMA. So you'll see $25 come out of there.
Right. Okay, so that's what that 100 is for.
Yep.
And I also noticed that there's a $4,000 number on that sheet, but it doesn't seem to really tie to anything. Like if you look at that sheet on fiscal year 24, I didn't unhide anything, but it shows a $4,000 total, but no detail.
That was probably the 2024 charges we used to have in travel, but it would cover like fuel, maintenance of the vehicles. That got moved over to motor vehicles. So that'd be an increase from 4,000 to 5,880 last year.
And a little more broken out to fuel and
Yeah.
whatever. So it's a little clearer to see what's what. Perfect. That. Now, for the motor vehicle charges, do we actually have a vehicle or is this
Yeah.
So we have an IT vehicle?
Yep. We have multiple.
And the whole point is,
We're at every building almost every day on call. So they get their use. We used to move things around in our cars and I don't think that was probably the best thing insurance wise. And we tried to frame a couple things that were too big sometimes and might have cracked a windshield or two.
Tom Mullen. Okay. And so it seems like, the overarching theme is just you've eliminated that one position and software maintenance.
Yep. I think Evan had, oh no, he's still here.
Evan, did you have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Right, I think I'm good too.
Great.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't, but I'll follow up with you on that tabletop. Exercise with gas and light if you want to sit in.
Yeah, that would be great. And the, that sort of phishing, quick, easy button to use to report phishing.
Yeah, I think with that one, we'll wait till we get 365.
Okay.
And also check on communications about getting words out through our newsletter.
Right.
Wherever we can beg, borrow, and steal from other organizations.
Right. All right, I'm gonna end the meeting.
Right, awesome. Thanks, Todd.